Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics. With springtime here, not only are the flowers just starting to bloom, the crocuses and the daffodils, tulips, but also Easter, one of my favorite times of the year. I love decorating for this holiday. Now, the Ruched Easter egg table runner was something I designed a couple years ago. And in that video, we shot a video showing you how to make ruching, which may be completely new to you. It's a really neat technique. And I also talked to you about setting these rhinestones and some tips and techniques I've learned along the way with that as well. Now we have a limited amount of kits available and a limited amount of thread sets. So if this speaks to you, be sure to grab your kit. Now at the end of this, there'll be a little bit of a pause and you'll be able to watch that video again where I go over ruching and talk about setting the rhinestones. So stay tuned. You'll see one of our older videos, but we know it's been a customer favorite. So enjoy. I'll see you on the other video. Hi, I'm Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics. I'm excited to share with you a new design that I have for Easter. It's called the Ruched Easter egg runner, and look how adorable this project is. It's perfect for your Easter table, and of course you'll probably be planning a special meal. How pretty would this be running right down the middle of your dining room table? There's some neat features about this project that I want to share with you today. So let's get a look at how unique this really is. This is just simple patchwork to begin with, but then quickly you can see the detail of what's called ruching. It's a French word that means to gather or pleat. It's been around for hundreds of years, and it's really coming back in popularity. I'm seeing it more in embellishment of clothes, pillows, a lot of home decor. And so I brought that technique back into this, and I thought it made a cute little accent to the Easter egg. So in the kit, when you receive the kit, or maybe you're gonna just be purchasing the pattern and using your own fabrics, you'll do the patchwork as you normally would. They're just squares sewn together, and you'll cut that out into the shape of an egg and then applique that to the background as you would prefer. That could be either traditional applique, turning the edge under, or machine applique with, say, heat and bond. But then the ruching, that's what we'll be going over today. And we'll also be looking at these beautiful hot fix jewels and the technique that I use to get those onto the actual egg. So let's get started. I'm so excited to share with you ruching. I love anything that looks ruffly or ruched or embellished. I think it just is so special. Love it. So what is this business about ruching? First off, you can't believe how easy it is. In the kit, there will be 4 different colors of ribbon, one for each of the eggs. So let's get a piece of the ribbon and I will show you just how easy it is to do ruching. You do want to choose coordinating colors. Each color should match your ribbon as closely as possible. We chose Masterpiece because they have 80 gorgeous colors, and it doesn't seem to matter what fabric I choose. They seems to be a great thread color. When we were making the ruching for the Easter egg, I just had some thread at home that I tried, and I'll have to tell you, the thread broke. When we got back to the shop and we got the Masterpiece thread that we absolutely love and we use for everything, there was no issues. It's strong and it has 80 gorgeous colors to choose from. So it's such a great thread to have in your quilting room, not just for piecing, but for projects like ruching as well. So you'll thread your needle with just one strand of the thread, and we used the Richard hemming needles, and we use these for embroidery too, but they're sharp enough that they work just as well for the ruching, so you don't need to buy any type of special needle. So you will get your ribbon, and from the satiny side, you've knotted the end. You're going to create, and let me show you, I've done a little piece of this ahead of time. Put our ribbon or thread up there. You're going to stitch into the ribbon in a zigzag pattern with running stitches. Running stitches mean there's gap. There's a stitch and you come up. You'll be doing this zigzag or kind of a chevron pattern across the ribbon as you go. Yes, you could probably do this by machine. I didn't have nearly the control with the machine as I did if I just did it with needle and thread. So And it's not a huge amount of ruching, so just do this by hand and you'll have a lot more control. So put the ribbon out in front of you like this. I've threaded the needle and I've got a knot at the end. And you do want to have a pretty long thread because you can't have more than one thread in this. It must be continuous. So we're going to come in as such, and now we will run long running stitches on the 45 to that point, and then we will go back down. I don't measure anything, it's just a visual little zigzag. So I don't come up and then go back down and grab underneath. I do that several stitches where I kind of rock the needle. So let's go a whole pass of where you can see how I rock the needle back and forth. And it makes it go so much quicker. So here we are. We're going to, I'm kind of looking at this over here. I'm going to go down and I rock up and I rock down and I rock up, and I want that to not be obviously on the very edge, but near it. And I come through, turn my ribbon. Again, I've got my kind of visual target. I'm kind of looking, oh, probably about there. Go down, rock, rock, pivot back and forth till I'm about there. Okay, you will continue with this fashion all the way down a fair distance. This ribbon I've already put the running stitches in ahead of time, so I've got about this distance. Now, I'm not going to do the whole thing yet. I'm going to do, I don't know, what is that? 10 inches, and then I'm going to begin to pull. Look at how that little pucker is beginning to happen, the little gather is happening. And you just work your way down, running those toward that knot. There's a knot right there. And it doesn't really matter whether the knot's on the front or the back. It doesn't really matter. And you see how you just run these down there. You can see now how important the thread is. You're going to see the thread because it's right there. You can see it. So it does need to coordinate. And it's important that it's strong because as you're beginning to run these pleats down that thread, the integrity of the thread matters. So if there was ever a time to choose a good quality thread, this is that time, or all the work will be wasted, because if the thread breaks, you're starting over. There's just no other way about it. You have to start over. So look at how cute this ruching is. So now that I've ruched a certain part, again, my needle came out, but no big deal. I would just thread the needle and do the zigzag, and I would keep ruching and keep running it down until it was the length that I want. And then when you come over to your actual project, this is a raw edge here, right on the very end. What we did for our project is we just, with a little bit of, you can either use temporary basting glue, a little bit of hot glue, we just kind of tuck that edge under to secure it. When we transfer it to the egg, that would hold that raw edge in place, and then we stitched it down with a couple threads. And then as you can see, you're just going to keep the ruching coming until the length that you want. You're going to position it where you want. You can tack that down with, again, a little bit of glue or maybe some pins to hold it in position. And then you're just going to tack it down along so you have the arc that you want. Now, as far as the length, I mentioned before you're going to do about 10 inches at a time. And then you'll keep ruching until you find the length that you want. And then when you've gathered it all up and it's the length that you want plus a little bit more to tuck under, then you'll simply, at the very end of that, knot it just like you started it. There was a knot, and at the end you'll knot that and you'll cut it, and that edge will get turned under. So that's how you do the ruching. The rhinestones, oh, who doesn't love bling? If it glitters, I love it. And I think I'm finding the more women that I meet at Road to California and all these various quilting shows, and you know, even trade shows, people love sparkles, so I couldn't resist adding these beautiful glass rhinestones. Now, of course, there's the bedazzlers out there. Those are those special tools that set one jewel at a time. But you know what? You really just don't need to do that. What I've learned is when we jeweled ours here, because we're always in a hurry to get one done, the sample done for videos for you. We don't have time to set jewels one at a time. What we did is we would position the jewels. This worked really well. We positioned our jewels in our intersections, and then I had a very thin piece of fabric, almost like a muslin. I think, in fact, it may have been a muslin. And you'll position them exactly where you want them. See, I have a blue here just so you can see what I'm doing. Of course, you wouldn't put a blue there, but you'll position them. This is even before the ruching. You could put this on or after. It really doesn't matter. But if you put this here, you put your jewels in place, then we just put that thin piece of muslin on top with the iron, and you're literally going to hold that in position for about 7 to 10 seconds, depending on the heat setting of your iron. And I have that on full hot. And then when I lift up, all of those jewels are set simultaneously. I'm not doing just one jewel at a time. So that really is all there is to embellishing the ruched Easter egg project. I hope if you've never tried ruching or embellishing, this is a fun and adorable and sparkly project that I think that your family would enjoy seeing on your dining room table.